All right, folks, we are back. Welcome on back here this Thursday afternoon, February 8th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are rounding third on this afternoon, and great to see all of our students and members alike inside our live trading room. Got Linda, Andrea, Chuck, had Brian just before calling out AFRM, had Chuck, Jith a moment ago, and all of our other fellow students and members alike there. Just give me a quick sound check. Should be good to go, across the board. But of course, not just there on social media as well. Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Just at Cyber Trading U is the social handle there. Just follow and subscribe right through all of our social streams, namely YouTube on top. But with that in mind, I mean, it's days like today as to why we need to be inside our live trading room, and mainly in our classes, really, because it's the training that we go through that allows us the confidence to take trades on days like today, where it's been really one opportunity after another. I got to say, just even with the market a little choppy here and there, we've had such a phenomenal day so far. I know Andre just called out the SYRA just a moment ago, bounced back up briefly there. I was watching it as he had called it out. This is like my second loss on the day. I just took a small size position and I just said, you know what, I'm out. And it dropped off a little bit more after, but just maybe in the afternoon, maybe at 3 p.m., this can make the better pop, right? It's still a good trade, but it was more from the morning that this ended up making like its better push. The late morning, the early afternoon ended up making a hell of a pop. So it was more, there pre-market. We had started off with this on our morning watch list in the morning meeting. Actually, one of our fellow students, Brian, had called it out and led to a pretty good pop right away and said, all right, well, obviously when a stock is up 455, 490%, 500%, of course, we got to put it on our list. But here's the thing, though, and we said this during the meeting. We gave you the playbook to a great degree on this trade. Thankfully, the stock allowed us the chance to take it, but it was right off the previous all-time high, 370, namely $4 right there, whole number level above it, under, over. It got halted going up shortly after from that point. And from the 370, that's when I jumped in. It led to a pretty clean entry opportunity. And well, for as much as I missed out on Hollow yesterday, I think that this made up for it. This was a pretty good move. So ended up pushing up really nicely at the time towards just about 657. And then from there, it pulled back and we were out long at that point. I had missed out on this like late morning, early afternoon run it made. But even here, it's still kind of just holding. It's just kind of teasing, right? It hasn't tanked. So, I'm not going to not put it on our list. I got to start off by doing just that. I got to put this on our list here somewhere. SYRA. But for Charles, for Lawrence, Linda, and Dre, I'm more interested in stocks like Mara, stocks like Palantir, stocks like Rumble, you see on the bottom right there. But Mara has been like my, horse all day today. This has been a beautiful trade. You see a lot of lines on this chart, so it probably looks confusing to the naked eye. If you are a student, well, it makes it a little bit easier to say. We had a lot of buying that came in pre-market this morning at 1830, 1829. So that was basically where I was focused on initially. Shout out to one of my students, Pablo, longtime student Pablo Lee, one of my coaching students. He had jumped in with me there. And from there, it led to a nice push, right? That was the first level, not the only level, at least. You could see just a moment ago, it ended up just retracing back down once more towards 20 and just a little under that. I got stopped out on my trade from the morning session before that time, though. It was like right there where my cursor is here. I got stopped out from that position from 1832 at that point, but I was looking for the drop towards the VWAP later on. Never got it. It pushed back up and built new support off of 2025. And alas, here we are now. So Mara up 20%. Obviously, I'm going to put this on our watch list, not just because Mara, but it's up 20% and it's at the highs. I just feel like over time, too, we had called this out really distinctly in our trading room, just in the audio commentary. Rich had it up on his chart. I told him to put the line pretty much right there. 2260-ish could be a pretty strong swing level to work off of on Mara. Now, hey, what else do we have? Well, we got PLTR. PLTR making another big push once again today, up like 5.5%. It's starting to round off at 25 here. So this could be the opportunity where, if you know what to look for in a counter trend, then obviously 25 as a psychological level could be the price to work off of. But has it dropped lower? Well, it started off like a little down, but it's not making a lower low. So it's really tough to try and short this stock. I am doing it right now, but you can see we haven't gotten far. So PLTR, either way, we're going to put this on our watch list once again. Just another day where PLTR is making a higher high. So, if it ends up breaking above 25, I'm taking a scratch break-even trade on this, if anything. My stop's right at 25.02, if I'm not mistaken there. So, as far as PLTR goes, we'll see where it lands. But also this, really quick. Hey, we said about Mara, a swing level to work off of. Well, how about PLTR? I gave you this earlier in the week too, but I wasn't holding my breath waiting for it. That's the key. So, I was not expecting PLTR to go back to back to back days like this, but I was even going to say a little under that, maybe like 20. I thought it was like 26 and change. Yeah, kind of around there. Back from like late 21 here on the weekly graph. And from prior to that, loosely speaking, it was shaking around that area. So that could be a pretty strong psychological or a pretty strong swing level to work off of as far as the long-term chart. Now, as far as the psychological level, 25. All right, so we got a few good trades to work off of already. And then the last one that I'm in at least, Rumble. Well, this actually just held above 820 earlier and kept me alive, but just you could see here, it did not push higher. Not breaking higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. I'm in from 8. So if this breaks below 820, I'm out. It's not up or down a lot percentage-wise. It's just from our side list. Tradable stock, but it's not doing us any good here. And, maybe if it slingshots higher in the afternoon, I'll call it out later on. But otherwise, we'll pass on this here. All right? Sound good? All right, so with that said, let's go right from top to bottom here. Otherwise, let's see what we could add to our watch list from that point. The SYRA already on there. You got Mara, Palantir. Not this. Not HKIT. The CCTG either. Pass, and then we keep it going. So MLGO is like kind of making higher lows here at least. Just kind of lower highs the last 15, 20 minutes perhaps. But, perhaps, maybe there's room for more of a pop. This stock has been a huge pop and drop stock for us back at the end of last year. Looking back on the daily, I showed this earlier. So, stock went from 4 up to 16, then back down to 2. It's not the type of roller coaster I want to be on. At least not on the way down. On the way up, maybe. But yeah, as far as this goes here, as we're talking, coming back down below the VWAP even here. So I'll come back to this trade. Not fully committed just yet, this MLGO. Bets, like we said, it's like kind of one after another today. Even if it had popped earlier and dropped, there might be a second win type of move on it. I'm not as drawn by the or drawn to the order book, at least here. So I'm going to pass on bets. Have a great need or necessity to be following that type of order book. Same to be said with this thing. FHTX, like only trading 1 million shares in volume. Good chart. Like the chart. The chart's pretty good by me, but you got to have good liquidity. At this point now, ARM, it's dropping off anyway, but we're going to pass on to here. It was more from the market open session, just with the earnings it had, breaking all-time highs. But for as good as that was, obviously what goes up does come back down as well. And yeah. All right, Aroma, I'm going to pass there. Just kind of skim down the rest of this gainer side here for this point. Wolf, another crypto mining stock like Mara, a little slow. Blue, this stock I feel like is due for a bounce over time if you look at this chart. But, again, a little slow for right now. It looks just really flat. A couple other stocks I just saw here a moment ago. OSCR, this might actually be the only one left from the gainer side. Yeah, this thing's pretty flat. All right, so let's see if there's anything looking good from the losers. We got 3 good ones already. So if we even just leave it at those 3, that's fine by me. Just got stopped out on Rumble there. So what else we got? APPS, apps, dropping off. It is shortable. Easy to borrow on TradeStation at least. Not at all-time lows, I don't think. Nah. All right, we're going to pass on it there. If it was at all-time lows, that's kind of the selling point to me. But, again, not really a great need to add a stock like that there at this point. A little close to the ground floor. LSPD. So this stock just broke down below a Fausto flag. Nice. Lower highs and just broke below the floor. You got some room on this at least. the spread doesn't open up, I like this. LSPD, I'll add this to our list as a short. If the spread doesn't open up bad, it'll be a good trade. NSP, GoPro, PayPal. PayPal coming off bad earnings, right? And what happened recently on PayPal? Wasn't their CEO hyping something up? Said like, just really like some big revolutionary announcement. They made it, and then the stock dropped like 10% that day. So that's kind of the drawback with making a very big hyped up announcement, but that wasn't today exactly. That was like kind of recent, but nevertheless, PayPal earnings down big today. It is pretty close to the lows. You know what? I'll add it as well. A little more expensive, but very liquid stock. We like it. And that kind of just about does it. We're not really shorting this market altogether. So unless if the company has bad news, we're not going to really look to try and follow it on the way down. So if there's anything else looking good here, folks, definitely let me know here in the chat. Up, down, left, right, more than 5%. Linda made some nice money on option calls on Mara, I just saw a moment ago. Great job from Linda. There we go. I bet you those calls are pretty cheap too, right? Just because Mara's not like an expensive stock. So probably get a good price on. But that's the drawback on trading options, because if you don't know where to get in and follow the trade, I'm certainly not speaking to Linda on this. She killed it today. But speaking to like the outside world, people on YouTube, Facebook Live, or just brand new trial members of CTU, it's to say trading a cheap option, it could be very difficult if you're there, right place, wrong time. And, you likely have to push the expiration date out a few weeks, if anything, but even then, that's when it gets more expensive. So, you want to make sure that you have a happy medium, at least with those two in mind. But for a stock like Mara that had pushed up so nicely from earlier today, I'll zoom in on my chart there so it's a little easier on the eyes for you. But yeah, for all of us, I mean, it's a nice move right now, moving back above 21. Coinbase, we had this on our morning watch list as well. A little more expensive, actually a little bit choppier here today, this afternoon. So not as much of a need to follow that. Same here. All right, we'll just take one last look at Benzinga Pro before we finish up. Got the SYRA, HKIT. I'm not really too interested in HKIT. So I think that's pretty much it. That's all we got here for right now, folks. So about 5 stocks to work with, 3 on the way up, 2 on the way down. Pretty easy to start off from there, right? Michael saying Weight Watchers at the high of the day, just under 5. Yeah, that's not a bad look. Little daily chart, previous support here back from January at 616. That could be resistance on a really strong break. Otherwise, that's a pretty good level. Yeah, I mean, good call. I like this. Good look, Michael. And then, I'm sorry, from Linda. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. SOUM. A little too slow. The only issue on this is that it's almost too liquid, and you got like orders that are like too big at every price level. So it's had a good day today, but you want to even have something that is liquid, that is filled in. But when the price levels are like 20, 30,000 a pop, like when you look at FCEL, this is like as prototypical of like a level 1, watching the grass grow, watching the paint dry type of stock. So SOUM may even have news out on it for it to be at 14%. But right now, I just feel like it's a little slow across the afternoon. That's all. Tony in chat saying, could you look at SYRA, talk through if you would have gotten in or out over the last 15 minutes? I literally just told you before I got in and out and I took a small loss right here. But as far as getting back in, yeah, if I was watching the stock and not on a microphone and juggling, blah, 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 yeah, potentially. If it's not making a lower low, if it's making a higher low and gives you the chance to try and retake that same exact trade that you had confidence in taking just before, absolutely. So I just told you on small size, I took a small loss just a moment ago here before I started the meeting. I was happy I got out at the time because this sucker just shook down bad. And hey, if I was Josh the trader, I would have taken that. This thing, again, is on some pretty thin liquidity. So, if you are a new student of CTU and if you've been with us for, let's say, less than 3 months, we'll just say, Doesn't mean that more than 3 months is the threshold to start trading crazy stocks, but just 3 months is basically, you know, that you're a new student of CTU. We want you to be training yourself on stocks that you could make just as much easy money on a stock like Palantir or a stock like Mara, right? So that is my full answer no matter what. But if you want Josh the Trader answer, hey, if that was a strong level and you took it once already and it gives you a second chance, there's a difference between insanity and making a pretty educated decision based off of patterns, right? Now, for me, that number to me is like 3 or 4. Like the more times I take a trade, I realize like, all right, Josh, you're pretty insane. You should probably stop doing the same damn thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So with that said, though, at least Tony, he got in and out and took off. Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on what level you're focused on, though. You know, I was focused on $6, the whole number level. Clean pot. I would say one of your easiest rules to focus on is like, you know, focusing in on whole number levels, especially for something as crazy as this. But I would not want a newly enrolled student to be as inclined to trade a stock like this when there is easier money to be made. Lawrence says, how about 7 years? I'm slow but a steady learner. Lawrence, you have been smashing it. Don't even downplay yourself like that. Lawrence is probably one of our most accurate traders win-loss wise. And, you know, one of his things he's learning about recently is trying to hold on longer into a specific trade. But it goes to show, at least, Lawrence, I appreciate you saying that because, well, I'll tell you what, 7 years goes by fast, right? Especially when you're making money. So with that in mind, geez, you know, the longer that you're with us, you tend to pick it up and you realize, you know, hey, I could do this day to day. Anthony's saying, what is $6 of 1,000 shares? That would be about $6,000. But that doesn't mean that if it's cheap that you should be trading a lot of shares. Trust me, I've gotten off a few different coaching calls this week with students that have gotten crushed. And of course, they are not going to say that themselves because who the hell would want to? And I'm not going to speak for them. But trust me, traders that have gotten whooped on trades recently, and it's because they're trading way too many shares than they should be. So for Anthony, Lawrence, Tony, and all of us, let me jump off the mic right now. We teach this all in our Phase 1 stock course. Actually, with that in mind, a little quick heads up, coming up in the next 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks' time, we'll be resuming the Phase 1 stock course coming up after, I believe, Washington's birthday. All right, so with that said, I will be back on soon, folks. We'll talk then. Take care.